All right, let's talk about one of the most frustrating things in the world of solar. You see these systems that look absolutely perfect on paper, but then they start to fail. Today, we're going to dig into why that happens, covering the biggest mistakes at every level, from total beginners all the way up to the seasoned pros. And this quote really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? A solar system failure usually isn't some big, dramatic explosion. Not at all. It's usually this slow, quiet death by 1,000 cuts, all thanks to some hidden flaw that only rears its ugly head when the system gets put under real stress. So what's the deal? I mean, you use all the right parts, you follow the diagrams, you wire everything up correctly. So why do these things still fail? Well, it's because a shopping list of great components doesn't magically create a great system. The real danger is in how all those parts actually play together, out in the messy real world. To really get our heads around this, we're going to walk through the most common mistakes, level by level. We'll start with the absolute basics and then work our way up to the really sneaky, almost invisible issues that can cause some serious long-term damage. Okay, let's start at square one, the beginner level. Now, the most common mistakes here are really fundamental, and they almost always boil down to two things: wiring and a pretty basic misunderstanding of what fuses are actually for. Now, this looks simple, I know, but the implications are absolutely massive. When you connect panels in series, your voltage goes up, which is great. But, and this is a big but, the current for the entire string gets choked down to whatever the weakest, worst-performing panel can produce. It's like a 5-lane highway suddenly squeezing down to 1 lane. In parallel, on the other hand, the current from every panel adds up, which means your wires suddenly have to handle a much, much bigger electrical load. And here's what that actually looks like in practice. You could have a single tree branch casting a shadow over just one of your panels in a series string, and that one little shadow can absolutely tank the output of the entire string. That one panel becomes a bottleneck, and the whole system pays the price. You know, another classic beginner mistake is treating fuses like they're just an afterthought. A fuse is so much more than just a little fire prevention device. It's a strategic boundary. You use it to define zones in your system, to isolate different branches so that a problem in one spot doesn't cascade and wipe out the whole shebang. It's all about containment. Okay, moving up the ladder to intermediate mistakes. At this stage, maybe the wiring is perfect, everything looks clean, but the system can still fail because the components themselves are mismatched. They end up, fighting each other when real-world conditions hit. This is a classic. I hear about this one all the time. Your system is humming along just fine, then you go to turn on a heavy load, maybe a microwave or a water pump, and poof, the whole thing just shuts down. So you check the inverter, seems okay. You check the battery, says it's charged. So what on earth is going on? The secret villain here? It's something called battery internal resistance. Every single battery has it. It's this built-in opposition to the flow of electricity. So when a big appliance suddenly screams for a ton of power all at once, that resistance causes the battery's voltage to just plummet. And just look at this mismatch. It tells the whole story. Your inverter needs this massive jolt of power to start up a motor, right? But the battery's chemistry and design put a hard limit on how much current it can supply at any one time. It might have plenty of energy stored inside, but it just can't push it all out the door fast enough. So what happens? The inverter sees this sudden, catastrophic voltage drop, and it shuts down to protect itself. So you're sitting there thinking you have a faulty inverter, but the real problem, the true bottleneck in the system, is that your battery just can't keep up with the inverter's peak demand. And another big intermediate mistake is picking your wire size based only on a simple amperage chart. You absolutely have to factor in other stuff, like how long the wire is and what the ambient temperature is. A wire that's running through a scorching hot attic just can't safely handle the same amount of current as one in a cool basement. If you ignore those details, your wires can slowly cook themselves for years, until one day they finally give up. All right, now for the advanced stuff. These are the mistakes that are truly, truly silent. I call them the invisible killers. They don't cause sudden shutdowns. Instead, they cause this slow, cumulative damage that silently destroys your most expensive equipment over many years. This one is huge, especially for anyone living in a colder climate. Now here's a fun fact that might surprise you. A solar panel's voltage is actually highest when it's cold. So on a freezing, sunny morning, the panel's open circuit voltage, which is its maximum possible voltage, can spike way up. As you can see here, a system that's perfectly safe on a normal day can suddenly blast past the voltage limit of your charge controller. It won't blow a fuse, but it will silently fry the sensitive electronics inside day after day until it's toast. So we talked about shading earlier, but here is the advanced and, frankly, much more destructive consequence. In a series string, when just one panel gets partially shaded, it suddenly can't pass all the high current being pushed through it by its sunny neighbors. So what does it do? It effectively turns into a resistor, and all that electrical energy being forced through it has to go somewhere. So it turns into intense heat, creating a permanent hotspot that degrades and can eventually kill the panel for good. So after looking at all of these mistakes, from simple wiring errors to these complex environmental effects, what's the one thing they all have in common? What is the real point of failure in any solar system? Well, here's the secret. It's almost never the component itself that fails first. I mean, you could have the most expensive panels, the best inverter, the priciest batteries on the market, and your system can still break down. The hardware itself is not the root of the problem. The real failure was the assumption you made way back in the design phase, the assumption that your wires won't get hot, the assumption that batteries can deliver infinite current on demand, the assumption that the weather is always a perfect 25 degrees Celsius and that a little bit of shade is no big deal. The failure happens on paper, in your head, long before it ever happens in the real world. So this is really the question you need to be asking yourself. Is your system designed for a perfect blueprint? Or is it designed for the messy, unpredictable reality of heat, cold, shade, and sudden heavy loads? Because answering that question honestly, that's the difference between a system that just works for now and one that's truly built to last.